Good afternoon, Mr. Few. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
Well, we're going to start by asking you, did you support the city the first time around? And did you support the city this time around? And if you did, why? And if you did not, why not?
I actually did, and it was a good opportunity for the South Side to become a city. And I thought it was a time for us to now chart our own destiny on this side of the South Fulton. And so I was happy when that opportunity came up. And so I fully supported it, and actually I went out and actually gave a couple of seminars about that. And then I spoke with my entire community about cityhood, because they were a little bit not understanding exactly what was going on. And so I explained it to them and told them it was a very good thing for us to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Given that, let's talk about your vision for the city. Kind of put it in the context of you've been the mayor now for 4 years, and you are giving your State of the City address. What did we accomplish? What of your vision have we accomplished? What was the vision, and what did we accomplish?
I can tell you that being in public safety, the problem that we have on the South Side, that situation will be taken care of with good community policing.
Okay, remember how I phrased the question.
Okay.
You're 4 years down the road, and now you're giving your State of the City address, and you're telling us about what you've done over the last 4 years in terms of what your vision was and where you are in relationship to achieving that vision.
I hope at that time I'll be talking about economic development and how well our city is doing. And I also like to talk about, I will be telling them now that our city is safe and that the crime now is under control. And I'll be speaking about the partnerships that we have in education with the educational system. I would also tell them that now we make sure we put the constraints in line so that we'll be physically responsible for our finances are in good shape now. And that we have a progressive city, and we look forward to even a more prosperous city in the future. And I feel that absolutely that I can actually accomplish that.
So prior to you writing that chapter, that first chapter, there are a couple critical steps that you need to do before that, and that is transition from the county to cityhood.
Yes.
So share with us, 3 or 4 things that would consist of your transition plan.
Well, actually, I would probably do team building is probably the utmost thing to do when you first start off. And then I will do an accounting of our finances to make sure, in fact, I would have an audit, ask for an audit of all our finances. And pretty much with that in mind, I would look to then start looking at the departments, the different departments. I would probably even come back and actually ask all the city council and put them over some certain departments to make sure that we keep totally a good understanding and making sure that our finances, that every department is working and we meeting our guidelines. And then I will put a 3, 5, and a 10-year plan in place so that we will have a plan of action to work toward. And so those are the things that I looked at that are most important to start off with. But that in mind, I would actually work with the citizens as well. I want to keep them involved. They are really engaged now, and I want them to stay that way. And so as the mayor, I would probably have meeting with HOAs every month. I would probably then set up town hall meetings in every district once a month.
But not to cut you off, but that window is very short. We're talking about from March 21st, and you're ready to go May 1.
Yes, I'm ready to go on May 1 because I know exactly what to do to get that city started. One of the good things about it, the transition team has put a lot of this in place. and having a city manager form of government, I would instruct the city manager, to get the budget, numbers, and then they would be reviewed by mayor and council. And after that, I look at looking at the different strength of all the different council people. And I will break the city down with finances, finance department, public safety, and I would assign different council people to those different departments.
I think, just for clarification, and I'm going to speak for you, but I think the question is that we are currently with the county, and we're going to have to transition people and services and everything else from the county to the city. What is your plan for making that happen?
Well, we have a 2-year window, and I would probably bring in actually some consultants to look at the strength and weaknesses of every department.
Okay, we don't have departments yet. Right. That's why we're asking the question. We don't have departments yet. Day one, you got 8 employees, you and the city council.
Well,
so there's no departments. So we're trying to see what your plan is to transition from the county to the city.
I would transition those employees that they already in place and bring them over, and then we'll start an evaluation of every department from those employees that we brought over from the county itself. We have some experienced people. We can't let everybody go. And we don't want to do that, because that's very costly as well. But it'll be an evaluation. We have a 2-year window. And so that's exactly what I do. I transition that. Now, I have some people that I have to appoint, and that means a city manager. And I will have a search and a consulting firm to probably put that together so that we have a good pool of people to come in, and we'll select that, and I'll make that appointment to the city council. The city clerk is another one that I will have the opportunity to appoint as well. And at the same time, I will be instructing even the city manager to start looking at her department directors to make sure that those are the ones that we really need to keep, because we will hold her responsible for the operation side of the city.
I'm sorry, not to belabor the point, but what about police, fire, sanitation, trash? Because if I'm, if I'm, let's say, looking for my trash to be picked up on May 2nd, I don't want you to tell me that I'm waiting 2 years. So that's why I'm trying to get more down to the grassroots.
Okay, well, let me be very clear on that.
Okay.
Although we bringing some people over, I know what trash pickup is privatized now. And my thing is that is one of the services that I would like to see that the government put in place, whether we do it privatize it or we do it in-house. But my thing is that these services, we have a 2-year window to get some things done, but that is not to say that I'm not going to work from day one trying to make sure we put all those services in place. And sanitation is one that's high on my priority because people are dumping all over the city. And so sanitation, as well as looking at the fire and police. I will mandate a number of things to the city manager, but she has that appointment, he or she will have that appointment.
And I don't want to belabor the issue, but I just want our constituents to have a clear understanding. How are you bringing the individuals from the county over on day one when there's no personnel, human resources? There's a process that has to take place.
No doubt. Well, we'll have to, in the transition of that, it's already been spelled out in the transition from county to city that we will, the first day, with the mayor and council will sit down and say, hey, we'll actually bring these people over from the county until we evaluate the different departments. So we'll just keep everything as it is until we evaluate each department. Everything has been actually done very quickly now, and so now it's time to slow some of the processes down to make sure we get the right individual to do the right jobs, and that is what I'm saying. And if I'm not very clear on that, let me be very clear that in that transition, we will definitely do an evaluation of all of our city employees that are existing in the county. So on day one, nobody can expect to have all new employees on day one, but you actually get with mayor and council and approve the bringing over of all the different individuals, the 500 and something employees that they have. And then from now, we start making evaluation and looking at each department by department to see whether or not their weaknesses and strengths of the different individuals at the top and all our employees, and see which ones we're going to keep.
Okay.
I wanted to go back to when you were talking about the vision for the city of community policing. You know, of course, the residents of South Fulton do want to feel safe. What would you do to address the response time of the police officers? How are you going to address that?
Well, there's a couple of ways you do that, and I did mention community policing. I'll go back and explain that. But when you talk about response time, you got to go and do an analysis of what the different call volume is in every part of the city. And you deploy the resources in those different places where the response is high during certain times of the day. So it goes into looking at the comprehensive study of the entire police services, and that data will drive you to where you need to have your resources at. Now, we will address the fact of the number of police officers, as well as using data to see where the calls are coming from each district, and then the deployment of those individuals, and that cuts response times down.
So you're stating that you're going to outsource and have a consulting firm do a study? What type of study? Or do you have something in place that you're thinking about? Yeah,
there's studies that police department services use. In fact, there's a flame study for fire and police, and what that does is they move the resources by the number of calls that they get throughout the city, and they put those in actually a database, and it tells you where to move your resources up. I've done this before.
Okay. Yeah,
actually.
I just want the citizens to know, because they want to feel safe, you know.
Well, they're going to feel safe because we have to understand that community policing, not everyone throughout the country understands. Even police officers don't understand. Some of them feel like community policing is you go out one day and you greet the citizens and then you go back in. That is not community policing. You have to put programs in place. I'll give you one example now. We're having some problems even with gasoline station. Rather than getting, if I gave you 100 people, if you didn't deploy them the right way, we'll still have that problem. And what we should be doing is an intergovernmental agency and put that together, a special task force to do nothing but fight that particular crime. And it would not cost any city a bunch of money, because what you'll be doing is you'll be getting some officers from one city, another city, and you put them together, such as East Point, Atlanta, and Fulton County. And that way you have the resources there, but their job has to be primarily fighting that particular crime. You can't pull them off and on each day. They have to be in place. That is an easy fix. I've watched this before in some other cities that I worked in before. Being in public safety, I was in public safety as well.
So as you know, we've been functioning under a budget that the county has devised for us. Do you feel as though that budget is adequate for the new city going forward, and if not, why?
Okay. I haven't had an opportunity to look at the numbers as far as the relative between what the expectations What the number of personnel I've looked at it, and I know it's 55 million, but that is a little bit low. I would admit that's a little bit low to me, but it's a budget that it's doable, but I like to see a little bit more room in it because the expectations now is that we need more police officers, we need more firefighters in the town, and we need more city services, and it's got to get a lot better than what we have now. And I know what the cities are expecting, and I'm going to be the one to really make sure that they get those things. And so, yes, I know that $28 million is coming over from the new budget and starting in May. That's a little bit closer. The county is pulling the $28 million over. Now, if I'm wrong, that is what's been written.
Okay, help us with that because I've not heard that number.
Okay. For the first 4 months, the county says that they will be holding the budget.
And
they will be spending it.
Yeah.
They are saying to us on May the 1st that $28 million is to come over. I looked at the paperwork on it. Now, if that's wrong, that is what's been written.
Okay. I'm just saying, I haven't seen that. I know that day one, there's some decisions that have to be made, and that's what I think his question was. What decisions do you anticipate have to be made day one? I think that's what you were asking.
That's correct.
And because when we become a city, the contract or the agreement, so to speak, that we have with Fulton County goes away, and now you are the mayor and city council. So there's some decisions that have to be made so that services continue. And I believe he was asking, what are the decisions that have to be made?
And that decision is that what I read is that $28 million will come over, and I wanted to make sure that the $28 million match what services and the monthly spending patterns so that it would...
when you say it's going to come over, where's it going?
Coming over from Fulton County.
Where's it going?
It is going to the new city.
I mean, where?
In the new city's budget.
You're talking about $28 million?
Yes.
Have you set up relationships with banks on day one?
No, but that is something.
So where's the money going? That's the question that he's trying to ask.
Okay.
See, because there are several steps that's got to be in place, because once the current agreement is dissolved, everything's going to fall on the mayor and those 7 council members on 1 May. And so if everything is not in place, that's why it's important. Our constituents want to know. See, it's one thing to talk about, on the campaign trail at a 50,000 foot level. But now we're talking about a grassroots level, the activities and actions that need to be in place to make sure, because it's going to be absolutely critical that whoever is in that seat make sure that the new city of South Fulton is sustainable and can function on day one. And so it's already known everything's not going to be in place, but it's important for us because our districts cover the city of South Fulton. What will you put in place to make sure that city can start to operate on 1 May?
Okay. All right. We talked about the fact that the employees that we will bring them over, and I would ask the council to bring over the existing personnel.
But you're assuming that the county is going to relinquish their employees to the city of South Fulton. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're assuming?
That's exactly what I'm assuming.
They want to come.
Right.
But let me just say this.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen, we just have to use some mutual aid agreements with some other agencies until that gets done.
Okay.
That will happen. That is not a biggie. I understand what you're saying, though. You want me to really accept. I know exactly when an emergency comes, how to take care of that emergency. Now, I will say this. The franchise fees, I know that all of those things have to be, taken care of. I know that we have to sign off on all of them again because we're a new city. And anything that's existing on all our services, I look, if I'm appointed, even before I take the oath, I will make sure that everything is in place on day one when I take the oath. And with the banking, as soon as the money, that is exactly what I would ask to do, is that we put it in a bank, a local bank here somewhere. I'd like to use local services.
Well, I just, dealing with my seniors,
Mhm.
we expect a lot.
Absolutely.
And, I just wanna know, okay, cause $28 million isn't enough, to do the things that I think I've seen you do in the past.
Mhm.
Okay, in the places that you've been. So, will there be any type of tax exemptions for seniors who are already strapped as you go through this process? This what do you see for seniors, in this piece? It's more seniors than it is of anybody else in the district, and a lot of them are retired.
Absolutely, and I realize that there are a lot of seniors that retired, and that's why I'm hoping that we have with a good economic plan that we won't have to put any more taxes on the seniors. We're going to have to look at that quite a bit with the economic development. I'm hoping that the fight for South Fulton Fulton Industrial, and then South Fulton Parkway is, I feel like, two good economic sources for this new city. And I'm certainly will be fighting for that. Senior programs, I will take a look at that at some point. I would like to put a senior agency in place for the city to make sure we take care of our seniors. There's no doubt about it. Even our small business, I want to put a small business program in place for those people so that they can get through the business license and have the necessary help, and even get the banks, to agree to help small businesses here in our city, because they do probably about 55% of small businesses employ the people from our city as well.
Since you hit on that subject, let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This community is going to be predominantly African American.
Yes.
And we have traditionally been cut off from funding for businesses and funding for and bonding. For whatever reason, we can go into history on that, but black people have not been able to get access to financing and bonding. What kind of policies would you put in place to help facilitate that, so that we can have people who live in the area participate in the growth of our city?
Well, actually, we talked about the monies that we put in the different banks that we put in, and we want them to do so much for minority businesses here in our city. Mm-hmm. If they're taking our money from taxes, then they need to be involved with small businesses and make sure that they don't not give loans to our people in our city. So I will make sure that, and those are the kind of instances that I would use to make sure that African Americans get their number of loans that they really actually need. But then I go even a step further, to make sure that even our city itself need to make sure that we have an opportunity to deploy some of our own people in our city. And I'm going to be asking for a cadet program actually for police and fire, and with a stipend, so that young kids about the 10th grade, they come into fire service. So you have a pool of people by the time they graduate, they're ready to come on the fire department. Police department the same way. And it employs people from your city. I've done this before, and then I get the best employees because they have a vested interest. They live here in the city. And the money just recirculate right in our city because we get them to stay. And I'm going to try to make sure that I have some kind of stipends for people who actually want to live here in the city, firefighters who want to live in the city, whether it be down payment assistance programs or something like that for police and fire. I want to do that.
How are you going to take advantage of the city sitting right next to the busiest airport in the world, and so that it will benefit the new city financially?
Atropolis has been around for a while, and I watched this in Dulles, at Dulles Airport, and I want to take advantage of that, especially on South Fulton Parkway. Again, the state of Georgia has movies now that they're making, and they're bringing in movie studios and giving some big discounts. The state, is in the $7 billion. I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to bring one in here. I met with some people as a city manager once, when I was a city manager, and I actually almost landed that a new studio in another city. And I got those relationships, and I want to bring one here. We are primed for it here, and
So
it
you
brings
plan
so
to
much business
Bring
around.
another studio in the new city?
Yes. I'm looking for it out on South Fulton Parkway, absolutely. If I can get the 7 council members to go along with it, that's exactly what I like to do. I think Atlanta is going to be one of the biggest places for movies. California is probably number 1, but we're climbing on them very quickly now with all the
How are you going to
incentives.
deal with the competition between that studio and Atlanta Metro? That's in Union City. That's not far from there.
Well, there's room in California for 7. There's room for Atlanta for that. We're in close proximity to the airport. You get right off and you come right down there, and we need to get that 5-star hotel. That things are built up around that. It's just a good start to doing that, and it's a good area to put it in my opinion.
Thanks, he was trying to get the word in there.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be a new city, but what would you look at as far as a minimum wage for your employees? I mean, you're gonna have some kind of way to attract a city clerk, and just people to do the work on day to day. Do you have any type of idea of what?
Sure. Well, the Georgia Municipal Association actually does the data for you. All you have to do is call them, and they'll give you the numbers, and all from medium to high, and the number of the population, the size of your population. Let me tell you, I have a philosophy. I like to pay employees well and expect everything out of them. I pay you well, but I want to make sure you do the work. And that is what I'm going to put emphasis on. I like to pay them well and make sure they do the job.
Going back to your minority businesses, you were talking about a business plan. You also talked about a cadet program. What other programs do you have, or do you plan to have for the youth of the community, and what other programs, things that you have planned for the Parks and Recreation Department?
Parks and Recreation plays a big part of it, but let me go ahead and talk about those partnerships. I will not only do some partnerships. At one time, I was a fire chief, and I brought some technology into a city, and we actually put data terminals inside of the fire engines. I had tons of files of work that needed to go in that database. I hired some young students that the mayor allowed me to hire. They went through those and did a magnificent job. I kept them on and asked them, could I keep them on all the way through the summer? And believe it or not, I was proud of that, because they came back after they graduated from high school and it was in college. They would come back to the fire department and visit us and tell me how they were doing. I love that. And so I'm going to do some mentorship programs within the government, but I'm going to be asking even businesses to do the same. We need to employ as many students as we can. But that cadet program, as well as that fire department program, that instantly give us a pool of people to choose from. And I want that pool of cadets to come from the city. They have to live in the city.
And Parks and Recreation?
And Parks and Recreation, let's talk about that. That's another area. In the summertime, we have athletes. I don't ever want them to be in trouble having anything to do. I'm going to put the administrative programs in that area where they teaching the young kids, mentoring young kids, come in the gyms and open the gyms. I want to make sure that our recreations department is meeting the needs of not only our youth, but our seniors as well. I know we have some senior facilities, but sometimes we middle-aged, we talked about those 63s and 64s, they like to go to the gyms as well. And I want to have a place for them to come as well.
Okay. We, as we put the charter together for the city, I'm assuming you had a chance to take a look at the
Absolutely.
Are there any changes, because we're the ones that would have to make the changes on your behalf. You and the city council would make recommendations for changes to the charter. Are there any changes that you anticipate that we would have to be working on?
The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, because there are so many first-time elected officials, I would like to see y'all install a little bit more about understanding how the government actually works. Although I've worked in a government setting under a city manager, a strong mayor form of government, as city administrator, when I go even to some of the forums and I hear them say some of the things they say, I understand that they don't understand that we are policymakers, and then the operation of the day-to-day operation goes to the city manager. Now, I know that the mayor and council work very closely with the city manager and all its department directors, but we got to understand our roles in this new government, and we want to make sure that South Fulton is, the city of South Fulton is absolutely the best, a good example all over the country. I've never failed at anything, and I hear sometimes people say that we don't feel like we may make it. I never felt that way about this new city, because I see the benefits of having a viable city, and I realize that 90% of it is made up of African American. I would not allow that to fail. I've been first in so many areas in my career. I was the first African American firefighter in East Point. I was the first African American fire chief in East Point. I was the first African American fire chief in Augusta. I was the first African American fire chief in Demopolis, Alabama. And the second, I was second once, the second fire chief in Washington, D.C. that came from the outside. And I've never failed, even though sometimes I went through a couple administrations where some people wanted me to fail. I understand what was around me, and that was the resources was around me when I didn't have the benefit of the monies that city council and mayor and city council gave me. I used industry. I always had a good training department, and I went out and just did training in the community, and I got the necessary tools for my fire department. And then I went to the state in some places where I got resources and became a state team, and it brought about like $600,000 or $800,000. I've always took advantage of grants. And you mentioned about starting up new. Let me just say this. Any city that starts off new is able to get firefighter grants as well as police grants. We should not pay for new police officers for at least 2 years.
Grants from where?
They call the Police Bill of Rights. Currently with the fire service
Is that a federal program?
It's a federal program. It is so easy to get. In fact, I've already looked up, you're getting some 15 of them now for the fire department, and that grant is coming about as we speak. So you're getting 15 of them, you don't have to pay for them for 2 years.
Which department of federal government does that come from?
It comes from public safety, Homeland Security, on Homeland Security. I've done it tons of times. Very easy to get at this point. I'm looking to hire them.
You think the current administration in Washington is going to keep that intact? I mean, I know you don't know the answer to that.
But let me just say this. I think a lot of programs that,
Homeland Security, okay.
I think a lot of programs that will be cut, but I don't think he's going to bother the Police Bill of Rights because they're needing police officers all over the world. And see, he's made a commitment to having safer cities. And so that is something that I don't think he'll cut. With the firefighters grants, and let me tell you what, and there's a safety net for that. If the city is not where they can afford them, they will allow you to actually reapply, and they'd extend the grant.
But if that exists, I'm just curious, if what you're saying exists, why hasn't the current fire and police chief taken advantage of that?
Well, your fire chief did.
Okay.
Your police chief, I don't know. I haven't seen him around very much. And I'm just gonna, and I'll go just a step further. In public safety, if you're not in the communities with community policing, neighborhood watch, and you don't know your zone commanders, then we have a problem. And I'll tell you this because I watched some cities who had very high crime and a good police chief came in and sitting in the public safety meeting, it turned around instantly. See, it takes citizen input as well.
Okay, we're gonna, any last questions anybody has?
I do.
Yes.
Why did you decide to run for mayor?
You know what, I actually prayed about it first, spoke with my family, and I knew I had the tools necessary for startup. I'm not looking to be a career politician, but I knew I had what it takes to start a city off. I've started fire departments that was just flat on their backs before, large ones. I've been over budgets from $4 million to $130 million. I know I can turn this city to a city that we all would be proud of, and that's why I ran. I did not want to sit on the sidelines and pontificate about what I should have been doing, what I could have done, and not did that. I want to be the mayor of this city because I wanted to get off to a good start and sit it on a solid foundation. I have no other interest in that. I don't have an ego anymore. I've been picked up on a sidewalk and taken to work and brought back home. That is not what I want. But I got family here in this city. My grandkids live in this city. My father live in this city. And I want to make sure it's the safest city where people come home every day expecting to go in their home and nobody is broken in their homes. And they can go to the grocery stores and to the gasoline stations. And I want good things on this side of town. I don't want to go on the north side to have a good meal. I want to have it right here in South Fulton County. That is why I ran for office.
Thank you.
You were talking about bringing a studio down to South Fulton.
Yes.
So how would you deal with the zoning issues? You know, trying to build that big facility, and you have these neighborhoods, you know, people don't want.
We have open land in South Fulton County,
Okay,
yes.
But other commercial zoning areas, how would you deal with that issue?
I deal with that issue, and I would always get the input of our business people. I'm going to stay very close with the business people. I'm going to tell them the benefits from that as well. There are benefits to this. We can't allow our taxpayers to keep paying for this and then let me just say this. We're going to lower the ISO rating. We're going to make it attractive to be here and do business in South Fulton County. We're going to have a very low tax base. That's going to attract them here to our city, as well as we're going to save them on insurance. When I say ISO, you know, that's the Insurance Service Office. It's a class 4 now. We should be a class 1. By the time we relocate these fire stations and hire those new firefighters, if we're not a class 1 station, a fire department, I don't know what will be stopping. It is a huge saving. They're going to be very happy. Very happy. And we're going to stay involved with our business people as well. I'm going to make sure we meet with them quite a bit. I'm going to ask council that we meet with the business people and keep them happy.
Okay.
You mentioned that you were going to meet with all the homeowners associations.
Yes.
You know, it's over 300 homeowners associations.
400.
Is it 400?
And
Okay.
Over 400.
so let me tell you how we do that, because I've did that before as well in a town where we call it the Home Association Board. So in each district, there are homeowner associations in each district. I'm going to each district every month. See, I don't have anything else to do but make sure this city works. I've got something, a burning desire to make sure that this city works, because I would not allow anybody, if they get cities on the north side, we're not going to fail on the south side. You're not going to be able to say that we have a predominantly African-American city and we allowed it to fail. I'm going to be on the job every day, and you're going to see me all around this city. But I'm going to be the same person on day 1 as you see me 4 years later. I'm going to be working for this city.
One last question. When you came over, you didn't know what we were going to ask you.
No, I didn't.
All right, and but something tells me that you were hoping that we would ask you at least one question that you were going to be able to just let it all out on.
Oh, yeah.
What was that question?
How are we going to make this city safe?
Okay, what's your answer to the question that we just asked?
We're going to make sure that we got community policing to its highest standard. Community policing is going to make the difference. We're going to have a community-based fire department. You see, when I was fire chief, I woke up senior citizens every morning. You know what it sounds like? Good morning. This is Chief Few. I'm just checking to see if you're okay this morning. If you're okay, you can hang the telephone up and have a nice day. Sometimes that was the only phone call they got a day was from the fire chief. Yeah, I was the most popular person in that city as well. And they didn't know how it was happening. It's because I care about the seniors in the city as well. I work with the kids as well. I was at the school programs and stuff. I didn't have a kid there, but I was there at the basketball games, the football games. I was there with them. They saw me. I was there. The homeowners meetings that we're talking about, I'm not just throwing out something. I was there. I took my time on Saturday mornings. I was with homeowner association, because if anything came up about that department, I wanted to be there to answer it. Even as a fire chief, I ran several departments when I was a fire chief. Water department, fleet maintenance. I've been first all my life. This is going to be the first mayor of this city. I want that opportunity.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Quite well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We're
All
gonna
right,
go